Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for Captain Underpants. So Captain Underpants follows an extremely intricate and complex story of two boys that write comic books about a man in his underwear flying around the city. Only they have a really mean principal that tears their comics apart. So one day, while they're sitting in his office, they hypnotize him and make him turn into Captain Underpants. Now, in the meantime, there is a new science teacher at the school that has an evil agenda to try to get rid of laughter, whose name is Mr. Poopy Pants. And the reason he's trying to get rid of laughter is because he almost got the Nobel Peace Prize for almost solving world hunger. And when this didn't happen, when people heard his name, they started laughing. And because of that, his reputation was ruined. So as you can tell, this is not a juvenile premise at all. It definitely appeals to the utmost of intelligence. No, it doesn't. Captain Underpants, listen to the title. Captain Underpants. What do you expect out of this movie? It's based on a popular series of books that were made for kids, and they're about 150 pages long each. They have lots of images, and in fact, I read them when I was little. I enjoyed them, but they're very juvenile, and they're very, very just kind of stupid. But they're fun, they're entertaining, and they're good for what they are, but they're just kind of stupid. And that's the reason I went into Captain Underpants with basically no expectations. What was I supposed to expect out of this movie? I knew it was supposed to be just juvenile humor that was going to be just really stupid, and I probably wouldn't laugh at it at all because, I don't really like juvenile humor anymore. Now, something that Captain Underpants does that surprised me is that it made me laugh a few times, so that was good. But for the most part, Captain Underpants is just the juvenile film that you expected. Now, for such a stupid premise, you expect it to only appeal to kids. And something that I can definitely applaud this film for is that it appeals to more than just kids. Now, for the most part, it's directed, 90% of it, I'd say, is directed purely towards kids, and adults wouldn't really be entertained by it. But that other 10%, I would say that adults would be genuinely entertained by what's going on. Now, some of the humor in this film is actually pretty good. Like, they have a lot of jokes about how awful the school is, and how it's more like a penitentiary than an actual, elementary school. And a lot of those jokes were really funny, particularly one where a kid was going into his locker. I don't know if anyone will find that to be as funny as I did, but I laughed a lot at that kid's joke where he just kept on going into the locker because he was lonely, because he was depressed. Now, they did overdo it, sure, and at that point it wasn't really funny anymore, but the first few times I thought it was actually pretty funny. Now, Captain Underpants, it supplies basically what kids need. It supplied some good humor, it supplied some entertaining scenes, and it supplied some very, very good animation. And for the most part, I actually agreed with that. And I typically don't like these kids' films, whether it be Sing or Trolls that came out recently. Both of those films, while they got good reviews, I still thought that they were just awfully made movies, and I really didn't enjoy them. So thankfully, this one did actually have some entertaining moments, and it has some good humor and some very good animation that was very much like the book. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot more issues with this film. Now, I'd say maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes, I was really enjoying Captain Underpants, and I thought maybe I would give it a good score, which is weird for a movie like this, but then it got old. And it got old very, very quickly, especially with the humor, because they really didn't come out with any new jokes. They were all running jokes at that point. They're the type of jokes that hit and they make you laugh and then they sort of go away, and you think, okay, thank God they didn't continue with this joke, but this film continues for the rest of the film, particularly a joke with someone who's held on the line because they're offered $1 billion. Basically, it's a prank that the two kids set up, and that joke went on far longer than it needed to, and a lot of jokes in the film are a lot like that. But also, the directors of this film don't know how to stretch conflict over a certain amount of time, because the main conflict of this film is Professor Poopy Pants, and the fact that he's this villainous character. And that was very stupid, but it was conflict in the movie, and that was the main conflict the movie was going for. And unfortunately, after the whole Captain Underpants thing is set up in about the first 20 minutes, it then goes on to just feature Poopy Pants trying to get rid of laughter, and for the most part, it just kind of becomes aimless. It does have a way, and it's not completely meandering, but a lot of it is just padding the runtime, especially just this carnival that randomly comes on, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's just there to be padding, and unfortunately, that bogs down Captain Underpants a lot. At the first, I was thinking this would maybe be a good movie. I thought I'd maybe enjoy it, but unfortunately, it was just a lot weaker than that, and mostly because it just wouldn't stop. It just kept on going on, and it took what was good about maybe the first 10 minutes and stretched it across the last 80, and that just made it a really weak film. So that's why I'll give Captain Underpants a 4 out of 10. Not a really deep review. I didn't really bring up a lot of, thorough points that explain the film, but Captain Underpants is what you expect. It captures the books pretty well, I'd say. I mean, the books were better because I enjoyed them more. Maybe it was my age. It probably had a lot to do with it, why I enjoyed the books more. But the movie, it's just pretty much the books. It's just fun, it's light, it's enjoyable for the most part until it gets old, and that's really when the film becomes weak. But anyway, that concludes my review for Captain Underpants. What are your thoughts on this film? Comment in the comment section below and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.